I never thought my wedding day would feel empty. I had imagined it for years. My mother helping me into my dress, fixing my veil, whispering something funny to calm my nerves. That warm, safe feeling that only a mother can give. But she wasn't there. Instead, I got a text early that morning. It read, "Can't make it, honey. Have been planning this trip for months. Love you." Love, yes, but no presents. I smiled anyway. I wanted to be strong. I told myself, it's okay, she's busy. Maybe this is just how it is. I put on my dress. I walked down the aisle. I saw my father, my grandparents, my siblings. Everyone was there, but her absence was like a shadow in the room. I laughed, I danced, I said my vows, I smiled for the photos, but every glance at the empty seat beside my dad was a quiet ache in my chest. 3 days later, everything changed. I was unpacking from our honeymoon when I heard it, loud banging on the door, screams, my mother's voice. I froze. What is she doing here? I whispered to myself. I opened the door, and there she was. Red-faced, wild-eyed, shaking. She didn't say hi, she didn't apologize. She just yelled. And that's when I realized, family, love, and forgiveness are never simple. This is my story of love, disappointment, regret, and the day my mother learned that some choices come with consequences. I grew up in a small, close-knit family. My parents had been married for over 30 years. My father was quiet, thoughtful, always with a newspaper in hand and glasses sliding down his nose. My mother, she was different, bright, impulsive, always chasing the next adventure. As a child, I loved her energy. She would pull me into the living room, dancing while I tried to keep up. But there was always a sense that her heart was never fully here. She was loving, yes, but also distant, always chasing moments she wanted to live herself. I had a younger brother, Alex. He was steady, kind, the kind of sibling who would notice if you looked tired and bring you tea without asking. My grandparents lived nearby, and holidays were always full of laughter, though sometimes tension lingered. Growing up, my mother had a habit of prioritizing experiences over family obligations. She would plan trips abroad when we had birthdays or school events. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I just learned to adjust. When I got engaged, I assumed she'd be overjoyed. I imagined the two of us sitting in the living room with tea, planning my wedding together. I pictured her picking out flowers, fussing over invitations, maybe even crying as she watched me walk down the aisle. But as the wedding date grew closer, I noticed something. She was distracted. She wasn't asking questions about dresses or seating plans. Instead, she talked endlessly about Hawaii, a package deal she had found months ago. I tried not to worry. I told myself, she'll still coming, she'll be there. Meanwhile, my father and I bonded over the planning. He was surprisingly involved, picking out the venue, tasting cakes, even suggesting songs for the ceremony. He kept saying, "Don't worry about your mom, she'll be there." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hold on to that image of a mother who would always be there on the big days. But a small voice in my head whispered, maybe not this time. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother casually dropped a bomb. "I booked my Hawaii trip for the week of your wedding," she said over breakfast. I froze, my cereal halfway to my mouth. "Wait, you mean the wedding?" I asked, hoping I misunderstood. "Oh, it's fine. You'll understand. It's been planned for months. I can't cancel now," she smiled. I nodded, though inside I felt a heavy mix of anger and sadness. I wanted to shout. I wanted to cry. But I smiled. "Of course, if that's what you want," I said quietly. Every call she made after that was full of stories about flights, hotels, snorkeling tours, and luau parties. Meanwhile, I was drowning in flowers, seating charts, and dress fittings. I tried to focus on the joy, but a shadow lingered. My father noticed. He tried to comfort me. "She's your mom. She loves you. This isn't about you," he said. But it was. It felt very much about me. The night before the wedding, I barely slept. I dreamed of the aisle empty. I woke up with tears on my pillow, a pit in my stomach. Wedding morning, I put on my dress, fixed my hair, and tried to focus on the excitement. I laughed, hugged my father, saw my grandparents smiling. I told myself, this is your day. Don't let anything ruin it. But every smile, every toast, every dance had a shadow. Her absence was loud, even when everyone else cheered. 3 days later, the silence ended in a way I never expected. The day after the wedding, I tried to focus on normal life. The boxes from the reception sat in the corner. A few flowers still clung to the edges of the tables. I thought I could finally breathe, but the emptiness came back. I kept glancing at my phone, half expecting a message from her, a photo from Hawaii, a cheerful "wish I could be there" text, and there it was, bright on the screen. "Aloha, we're having the most amazing time. Wish I could see you in your dress. Miss you." I stared at it for a long moment. I wanted to respond with anger, with sadness, with everything I felt inside, but instead I stayed silent. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter. My husband, James, was there. He held my hand, smiled, and said, "It's okay, she'll come around. She loves you." But the truth is, love feels different when it comes with absence. Over the next few days, her messages kept coming. Bright, cheerful, full of tropical pictures, stories about snorkeling, sunsets, fancy dinners. Every picture felt like a tiny dagger in my chest. I wondered if she even realized what she had missed. The vows, the laughter, the first dance. I tried to talk to her on the phone. "Mom, I wish you were here," I said softly, my voice shaking. "Oh, honey, I know. I'm sorry. But you know how it is. I couldn't cancel. We've been planning this trip forever. You understand, right?" she said, laughing lightly. I wanted to shout. I wanted to tell her that understanding didn't make it hurt any less. But I didn't. I just nodded and hung up. I spent that evening sitting on the couch, staring at the wedding photos we had printed. Every smiling face reminded me of what could have been. My brother, Alex, kept trying to cheer me up. "She didn't mean to hurt you," he said, patting my shoulder. But I could see the worry in his eyes. He didn't want family tension, but it was growing anyway. I found myself replaying conversations in my head. Every excuse, every cheerful message from Hawaii, every "I wish I could be there," it sounded like a hollow echo. Then I noticed little things in the house that reminded me of her absence. Her coffee mug still in the sink, her chair at the dining table empty, her favorite blanket folded neatly in the living room, untouched. Every item whispered that she had chosen somewhere else over me. James noticed my quiet mood. He tried to comfort me every morning. "Don't let it ruin your memory," he said gently. "Your day was beautiful. People loved you. You were happy." But happiness and absence don't always mix. I realized I was angry at her for not just skipping the wedding, but for the way she made it feel like it didn't matter. Then came the texts from my friends. "Where was your mom? We didn't see her. Did she really skip the wedding for a vacation?" Every message hit me differently. Part of me wanted to defend her, explain her love. Another part of me just wanted to disappear. I started questioning our past. The small patterns that I had ignored before suddenly became clear. Every birthday, every school play, every family milestone, her absence, her distraction, her prioritizing trips over moments. I had brushed it off as harmless, but now the repetition felt deliberate. I remember the day I confided in James. "I know she loves me," I whispered, voice shaking, "but it doesn't feel like it. Not really. I don't know if she even understands what she missed." James took my hand.
"Sometimes love isn't about being in the same place," he said softly. "It's hard, I know, but she still loves you, and she'll have to face this later." I wanted to believe him. I really did, but the knot in my chest wouldn't loosen. Days passed. I tried to focus on life, on work, on unpacking, on honeymoon memories, but the tension in my family grew quietly. My father was frustrated, but silent. He tried to keep peace. My brother avoided talking about it. Even my grandparents hinted at disappointment in their soft glances, words left unsaid. Then I received the first indirect confrontation. A family friend called. "We missed her. It was strange. She wasn't there. Your mom, she's always chasing something, isn't she?" I didn't know what to say. I felt embarrassed, I felt sad, I felt angry. Mostly, I felt alone. The tension became tangible. Every phone call, every message from her, every casual "wish I could see you" felt heavier than the last. It wasn't just her absence, it was the realization that her priorities didn't include me, at least not on that day, not when it mattered most. I tried to reach out again. "Mom, we need to talk," I typed one evening, hesitating before pressing send. Her reply came instantly. "Oh, honey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Don't be sad. We're having the best time. Don't worry about me." It was like talking to a stranger, cheerful, distant, oblivious to the wound she had caused. Then came a small, almost innocent question from her. "Did you like your wedding cake?" I blinked at the phone. I wanted to say, "I liked it, yes, but why weren't you there?" But I didn't. I typed a polite response. "It was wonderful. Everyone loved it." Inside, my heart ached. She had no idea, no clue how deeply her absence had cut. The final straw came 3 days after the wedding. I had just returned from a late-night walk, trying to clear my mind. I stepped inside and heard it. Loud, frantic banging on the front door. At first, I thought it was a delivery, but then I heard her voice screaming, "Open the door! I'm not leaving until I talk to you." My heart skipped. I froze, hand on the doorknob. I felt a surge of fear, confusion, and something else. Anger. Hurt. I whispered to myself, "It can't be her. She wouldn't." But it was. Red-faced, hair messy, suitcase by her side, she was shouting in the quiet night. I realized in that moment that all the tension, all the hurt, all the silent days of disappointment had come to a head. This was the moment everything I had held in for months, the pain, the disappointment, the silent tension would finally come crashing down. I stood there, my heart pounding, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything between us forever. I stood frozen, hand on the doorknob, staring at the pounding that shook the front door. My heart was racing, my thoughts scattered. Part of me wanted to run, to hide, to pretend she wasn't there. Another part wanted to scream, to let all the pain finally come out. Then came her voice, loud, desperate, urgent. "Open the door! I'm not leaving until I talk to you." I hesitated. My mind raced through everything. Her absence, the photos from Hawaii, the messages, the birthday parties she missed, the countless times I had learned to adjust. I swallowed hard. Slowly, I unlocked the door. She burst in, dragging her suitcase behind her. Her hair was messy, her eyes wild, her face red. She didn't greet me, she didn't apologize, she just started yelling again. "You can't do this to me," she shouted. "You can't just ignore me. I went to Hawaii for you. I held up a hand, voice trembling. "Mom, stop, please, just stop." But she didn't. Words tumbled out of her mouth in a chaotic rush. "I did this for you. I had plans. You don't understand. You're overreacting." I felt my chest tighten. The words I had rehearsed for months got caught in my throat. Finally, I managed to say, "I'm not overreacting. I'm hurt. You missed my wedding. The one day you promised to be there. The one day that mattered more than anything in the world. Her face twisted, her bright, cheerful expression from the Hawaii photos gone. For the first time, she looked uncertain. I had a trip planned for months. How could I cancel it? She said, her voice breaking slightly. I swallowed hard. Because I'm your daughter. Because my wedding mattered, and you chose Hawaii over me. Her mouth opened, words trembling, but they didn't come. I could see the first hints of shame and realization in her eyes.
I continued, quieter now. I wanted you there, not just in texts or photos. I wanted you beside me. You weren't. You left me. Suddenly, she sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. I didn't realize. I didn't see it. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I felt a mix of relief and lingering pain. Relief because she finally seemed to understand. Pain because it had taken yelling, arriving late, and finally seeing me upset for her to reach this moment. Mom, it's not just about words, I said softly. It's about showing up. Love isn't only what you say, it's what you do. She lifted her head. Tears streaked her cheeks. I see that now, she said quietly. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it would hurt this much. We sat in silence for a long time, breathing, listening. The chaos of yelling and frustration faded into quiet understanding. I want to make it right, she said eventually. I don't know how, but I want to try. I nodded slowly. We start by talking. No excuses, just honesty. And that's what we did. She told me about Hawaii, about the trips, the plans, the excitement she had felt. I listened. I let her speak. Then I shared my feelings, how abandoned I had felt, how lonely, how it wasn't just about the wedding, but about a pattern of absence through the years. For the first time, she really listened, not distracted listening over a phone call or text, but focused, present, fully hearing me. I never realized. I didn't see it before. I see it now, she said, her voice soft and vulnerable. We cried together, not in anger, not shouting, but quietly, letting the grief and relief mingle. The hours passed with conversation. We went over childhood memories, birthdays she had missed, events she had prioritized over family, the small disappointments that had built over time. She admitted it all. She had been thoughtless. She had been selfish. She never intended to hurt me, but she had. I didn't ask her to undo the past. I didn't need that. I needed acknowledgement, and she gave it. Slowly, gently, she began to take responsibility. She said, I thought I was doing the right thing, with a trembling voice. I didn't see how my choices affected you. I nodded. I know you didn't mean it, but it mattered. It still matters. And now I need you to understand that. She nodded again, swallowing hard. The wild energy, the casual attitude, the jokes, the bright Hawaii smile, it was all gone. In its place was remorse, vulnerability, and a willingness to change. We stayed up late talking, sometimes in silence, sometimes sharing memories of the wedding day, my childhood, and the mistakes we both carried in our hearts. I realized that confrontation is painful, truth is painful, but without it, healing is impossible. And in that chaotic, screaming confrontation, we found the first step toward understanding and rebuilding our connection. She apologized again, not just for missing the wedding, but for the pattern of absence she had maintained over the years. She promised she would never prioritize trips or adventures over family moments again. I felt tears rise in my own eyes. "Thank you, Mom," I whispered. "That's all I need." By the end of the night, the storm, both inside and outside us, had begun to calm. The tension, the anger, the hurt didn't vanish completely, but there was space now for understanding and trust to grow. I realized something important that night. Love is not just presence, it is attention. It is showing up, even when inconvenient. And sometimes it takes a crisis, a door slammed open, and yelling in the middle of the night to understand that. In those hours, we faced the hurt together. We acknowledged mistakes, we allowed our vulnerability to meet each other's. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the beginnings of peace. It didn't erase the pain, it didn't erase the absence, but it made space for healing, for understanding, for growth. That night was a turning point, not just in our relationship, but in how I would see love, family, and forgiveness from that moment on. We didn't fix everything in a single night, but we opened the door, both literally and metaphorically, and that was the first step towards something better. I learned that confrontation doesn't have to destroy, it can illuminate, it can awaken understanding, and it can begin the long, patient process of rebuilding what absence almost broke. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of calm. The storm outside had passed, and inside me, the first real sense of clarity and connection with my mother had begun. The morning after the confrontation, the house felt different. It wasn't loud or obvious, but there was a quiet weight lifted. The tension that had pressed down on me for weeks had eased just a little. I found my mother in the kitchen, sitting quietly with a cup of tea. She looked exhausted, but there was something new in her eyes. Softness, vulnerability, and a real presence I hadn't felt from her in a long time. "Morning," I said softly. She smiled faintly. "Morning," she replied. "I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about what I did and what I missed." I nodded. I didn't speak at first. I just watched her stir her tea. Watching her so human, so real, reminded me of the mother I had loved growing up, the one before the long absences and distracted trips. "Mom," I said finally, "I know you didn't mean to hurt me, but it still hurt, and I need time to forgive fully." She nodded. "I understand. I deserve that. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." Her words were simple but heavy with meaning. For the first time, she wasn't defending herself. She wasn't making excuses. She was taking responsibility. Over the next few days, she began showing it. Small gestures first. She helped me unpack wedding gifts. She asked about everyone who attended. She listened, really listened to every story I wanted to share. I noticed things I hadn't before. The way she paused before speaking, the care she put into small acts, making me tea just the way I liked it, folding laundry the way I had always done it, helping sort photos. It wasn't grand, it wasn't Hawaii sunsets, but it was presence, and presence matters more than anything when it has been missing for so long. One afternoon, we sat down with my father and brother. For the first time in weeks, the family talked openly about expectations, about feelings, about mistakes. "I see now," my mother said quietly. "I've been careless with my presence. I thought love was enough, but it's not. It's showing up, it's attention, it's being here, even when it's inconvenient." I felt a lump in my throat. She wasn't just apologizing, she was reflecting, understanding, willing to change. Forgiveness didn't come all at once. Some memories still hurt. Some old patterns still made me hesitate. But each time she responded with patience, with consistency, with presence instead of excuses, the walls I had built began to crumble. We began small routines together: morning tea, short walks, cooking dinner. Every act was quiet but meaningful. I realized healing isn't just about the one who was hurt, it's also about the one who caused pain. My mother had her own guilt, her own regret, and by facing it, she allowed me to face mine. She asked about the wedding, about my dress, about the first dance, about moments she had missed. She wanted to understand, not to erase her absence, not to pretend it didn't matter, but to acknowledge it fully. "I want to feel it with you," she said softly. Her honesty struck me. She wasn't pretending, she wasn't defending herself. She was acknowledging the pain and trying to make amends. We also talked about past patterns, the birthdays, school events, small moments she had prioritized trips over family. It wasn't easy. It hurt to bring up old disappointments, but she listened and she understood. "I see now," she said, tears in her eyes. "I wasn't fully present. I thought I was doing my best, but I missed the moments that mattered most. I'm so sorry." I nodded. I didn't need her to fix the past. I needed her to understand it, and she did. We started creating new memories, not big gestures, not trips, not vacations, but small, intentional moments. Afternoon tea, cooking together, quiet evenings sharing stories. Each moment helped rebuild trust brick by brick. I realized something vital. Love is not just presence at grand events, it's showing up in the everyday. It's listening, caring, acknowledging feelings, being present when it matters most. And slowly, the hurt began to fade. Not entirely, but there was space now for understanding, for connection, for growth. One evening, she said quietly, "I know I can't undo what I did, but I promise you I will never miss another moment that matters to you. I will be here, really here." Tears rose in my eyes. "Thank you, Mom," I whispered. "That's all I need." The following weeks were gentle, slow. Our conversations became calmer, our moments together intentional. The tension and hurt still existed, but they no longer controlled us. I realized that resolution doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means understanding, acknowledging, and moving forward with honesty and care. By the end of the month, we had found a rhythm, not perfect, not flawless, but real, present, and honest. I learned something vital. Family relationships are fragile. They can be broken by absence, by carelessness, by thoughtlessness, but they can also be repaired, slowly, with patience, with presence, with love. The day I realized that, I felt a quiet peace. The confrontation, the shouting, the tears, it had all led to this, to understanding, to the beginning of a new chapter. We had faced the hurt together. We had acknowledged the mistakes, and we had chosen to try again. In those days of rebuilding, I understood that love is not static. It is a series of choices, repeated daily. Showing up, listening, acknowledging, and caring are what make love real. And even after absence, even after hurt, love can grow again if we are willing to face it with honesty and courage. As the weeks passed, life settled into a quiet rhythm. The house felt lighter, softer, like the tension had finally been lifted. The absence that had seemed so heavy after my wedding began to fade, replaced by small moments of connection and understanding. My mother and I found ways to be together that felt real, not forced. Morning tea, quiet walks, and shared stories became our new routines. There were no grand gestures, no expensive trips, no flashy surprises. Just presence, just attention, just each other. I realized then that love isn't measured in events attended or gifts given. It's measured in moments, repeated patiently over time. Moments where we choose to be there, really be there, for the people who matter most. Some days were easier than others. Memories of her absence still stung, and old patterns occasionally threatened to reemerge.
But every time I reminded myself and reminded her that it's okay to be human, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. One afternoon, we were sitting on the couch, quietly folding laundry together. She looked at me and said, softly, "I'm grateful for your patience, for letting me try again. I don't deserve it, but I hope I can make it up to you." I smiled, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in months. "I already are, Mom. You being here now, that's enough." And it was. I think back to that day, the door slamming, the shouting, the tears. I never imagined that such chaos could become the beginning of healing, but it did. It reminded me that confrontation, when honest and heartfelt, can open doors that absence and silence cannot. It also reminded me that relationships, especially family, are fragile. They can bend, they can crack, but they can also mend, slowly, with patience, with honesty, with presence. I learned that forgiving someone doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't erase the hurt. It simply allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of it forever. Forgiveness is a choice, and sometimes it is the most powerful act of love we can give, not just to the other person, but to ourselves. Now, when I look at my wedding photos, I no longer feel the ache of my mother's absence. I feel gratitude. Gratitude that we faced the pain. Gratitude that she recognized her mistakes. Gratitude that we both tried, in our own imperfect way, to repair the bond that had been tested. Life hasn't been perfect since then. There are still moments of tension, of small missteps, of things left unsaid, but there is also presence, care, and a deeper understanding between us, a knowledge that we are willing to be there for each other no matter what. I want anyone listening to this story to understand this. Absence can hurt. Choices have consequences, and sometimes the people we love most may fail us in ways we never expected. But those moments do not define the entirety of a relationship. What matters is what comes after, the effort, the honesty, the willingness to repair and reconnect. I hold my mother's hand sometimes and feel grateful that she is here, truly here, and I know that we are both learning day by day how to love each other better. Sometimes it takes a crisis for people to see what truly matters. Sometimes it takes shouting and tears to open a door that has been closed for too long. And sometimes it takes patience, courage, and empathy to walk through that door and begin again. Family, love, forgiveness, they are all choices we make repeatedly, quietly, every single day. And even after absence, even after disappointment, they can grow again if we are willing to try. That's what I learned, that's what we both learned, and that's what matters most.